Hello students, so we are going to see today requirement engineering. I am Dr. Alifia Jagirdar from Abid and Amda Senior College. If you like my channel, do press like button and subscribe. Let's go ahead. So what is a requirement? It is basically an high level abstract statement of service or a statement constraint with a detailed mathematical functional specification. Okay, it is an inevitable as it may serve dual functions. The first, it may be the basis for a bid for a contractor, therefore it must be open for interpretation. First thing. Second thing, it may be the basis for the contract itself, therefore you must define it in detail. Both the statements are called as requirement. Now let's understand these statements. First, it says it may be the basis for bid for a contract. So if you want your software to be made by a company, you're going to approach one or more companies for your requirements. So you have to be very much clear with your requirements, then only you're going to get the bid for your particular project. First thing. Second thing, it may be basis for the contract itself, like I want to bid for a particular software, then also I have to know the detailed description about the software. So requirement plays a vital role in understanding what are the requirements to your softwares. Okay, so let's go ahead with it. Now requirements abstraction by Davis. Now if a company wishes to let a contract for a large software development project, it must define its needs sufficiently in abstract way, that is, that solution is not predefined. The requirements must be written so that many contractors can bid for the contract. So here again the basic is your requirements. It should be very much clear to your the contractors. Okay, so once your contractor has been awarded, the contractor writes the system definition for the client in more detailed form so that client can understand and validate the software once it is out into the market. Okay, so both these documents are called as requirement document for the system. So again, the requirement have to be specified by a company and the contractor will write in detail the system definition for the client. Okay, so there are different types of requirement. The first is user requirement. User requirement means a layman person who is going to tell you his requirements in a very natural language. It will just tell you that okay, I want a blue color website, I want my text boxes, I want a submit button. So this is a layman language. Okay, so that is called as user requirement, where it is called as natural language plus the diagrams of the service the system provides and its operational constraints. Okay, it is written for the customers. Second is system requirement. Now system requirement is more of document detailed descriptions of the system functions, services, operational constraints. Okay, because system requirement is a structured document understood by the client or by the IT industry people, okay, or the programmer. So they are going to write a detailed description which is like related to your function, services and operations. So here defines what should be implemented. So maybe the part of the contract between the client and the contractor. So here every time you have to inform the client whatever changes you make, and the acknowledgement have to be acquired by the customer. So these documents are very important and it stays throughout your system. Okay, so if you see this user and system requirement, this is a definition where it is written in very simple language that they want a monthly report of particular drugs by each clinic during that month. Okay, so they want the reports, and system requirement is here they are saying that how to acquire that report. So this is called a system requirement specification. Now readers of different types of requirement specifications are like, first, user requirements can be done by client managers, system end users who are using the system, client engineers, contractor managers and system architects. So they are the people who are going to read the user requirements. Who reads the system requirements? System end users, client engineers, system architect and software developers. Software developers understand the system requirements and then they work on the systems. Okay, now there are different types like functional and non-functional requirements. Functional requirement says that it is going to give you the system that how the system should react. It is going to state how the system is going to react to a particular input or output and how it should behave in a particular situation. May state what system should not do. So functional says how the system does, and non-functional says that constraints on the services or functions offered by the system, such as timing constraint, development process, standard, etc., and it is going to apply to the system as whole rather than individual features or services. Then is domain requirements, constraint on the system from a domain of operation, so that is called as domain requirements. Requirements engineering. Okay, so process of establishing the services that the customer requires from the system and constraints under which it operates is developed. So the engineering is done so that it is going to establish the services what customer requires from the system and how it is going to get operated. Okay, the requirement itself is a description of your system services and constraints and which are generated during requirement engineering process. It is also a description of what the system will do without describing how it will do. Okay, this is the process of gathering the software requirements from client, analyzing and documenting it. And the main aim of requirement engineering is to develop and maintain a descriptive system requirement specification document. It is called as SRS. It is RE is a systematic use of all the proven principles, techniques, ongoing evolution of users' needs, specification of external behavior so that it satisfies the client's need. So SRS is the base of your validation or verification process. Okay, so it contains different tasks. So first task is inception. Now what is inception? Inception means you are going to gather the information by asking set of questions so that you can establish a software process. Second, it is going to understand the problem and evaluate with the proper solution. Third, it is going to collaborate with relationship between the customer and developer. So when the collaboration is done, it is very easy to understand the requirements by asking interviews, by taking surveys, questionnaires, so that it understands what is the actual need. The developer and customer will decide the scope and nature of the question. Next is elicitation. Elicitation means I am going to take the requirement from anybody. Now certain times it happens that your client cannot give you that much information for going ahead with your software process. So what you will do, you will try to gather the information from the expertise, from your higher level people such as your team lead, managers. Okay, so it is saying elicitation means finding the requirement from anybody. The requirements are difficult because the following problems occur in elicitation. The first problem is scope. The customer gives unnecessary technical details rather than the clarity of the overall system objective. Sometimes the customer only doesn't understand what exactly it needs, so it gives unnecessary technical details. Then problem of understanding. There is a poor understanding between the customer and the developer regarding various aspects like capability, limitation of the computing environment. Sometimes the client don't understand the technical words and the developer cannot explain him or her the technical words. So sometimes it happens in that way that it is poor way of understanding. Problem volatility, that is the requirements change from time to time and it has become very difficult while developing the project. Suddenly your customer comes and tells you, okay, I don't want PHP platform, I want it into Android platform. So again it becomes very difficult. Its requirements are changing from time to time. So volatility is very difficult. The next is elaboration. The step, the information is taken from the user during inceptions and they are refined and expanded in elaboration. They are elaborated to the customer as well as to the developer. The main task is here to develop a pure model of software using functions, features and constraints of a software. Okay. Now next parts come negotiation. Now negotiation is from both the end. The clients also negotiate and the developer also negotiates on the functions, onto the cost. Okay, so your negotiation task, software engineer will decide how the project will be achieved with limited business resource. Okay, it is going to create a rough gauge of development, access and impact of the requirement on the project cost and delivery time. Sometimes your client says I want the project in 3 months. There the negotiation comes into picture. Software engineer says no, 3 months we cannot develop the software, we may require 5 months. So here this is called as negotiation on delivery time. Specification. Here in this task requirement engineer is going to construct a final work product. This is going to be in the form of software requirement specification, that is SRS. It will formalize the requirement of the proposed software such as informative, functional and behavioral. This will also formalize in both graphical and textual format. So specification is SRS, where it is going to give me what exactly is the requirement for the final work product. Validation. Once the requirements are finalized, a work product is built. The output of the requirement engineering is assessed for the quality through validation step. Because when you say on a click of submit button, the bill is going to get generated, so that validation has to be done. So that is called as validation. The formal technical review from the software engineer, customer and stakeholders is going to help me for primary requirement validation mechanism. The next is requirement management. It is a set of activities which is going to help the project team to identify, control and track the environments, and the changes can be made to the requirement at any time of the ongoing project. So the client comes with the requirement change and the software developer does not deny it, or the team does not deny it. They will try to incorporate those changes into your project. The task will start with identification and assigning a unique identifier to each of the requirements, so that you understand whether those requirements are acceptable or not. Sometimes the requirements may not be acceptable into your project, so you give them a unique identifier. And after finalizing the requirement, traceability table is developed so that validation and verification is done at easy task. Okay, now let's talk about eliciting requirements. As we said, we can collect it from the anywhere, anyone, the data. So here there are certain steps for it. You have to collaborate the requirement gathering, means you have to collaborate with the developer and the customer. How do you collaborate? You're going to conduct the meetings and you can gather the requirements. You're going to fix the rules for preparation and participation. Sometimes it is an open-ended interview, sometimes it is a closed-ended interview, or structured or unstructured. The main motive of this particular step is to identify the problem, to give the solution for the elements, negotiate different approaches, specify the primary set of solution requirements in an environment which is valuable for achieving the goal. Okay, the next step is quality functional deployment. It is also called as QFD. In this technique, you translate the customer need into technical requirement for the software. So now we are done with the requirements. Now we have to put it into a technical requirement. So QFD is going to be a system design, and it is a software according to the demands of the customer. There are three types of requirements. First is normal requirement, where objectives and goals are stated for the system through the meetings with the customer. So they identify the objective and goal by just meeting with the customer. Second, for the customer satisfaction, these requirements should be there, because if your customer is satisfied, you're going to get more of business. Second, expected requirement. These requirements are implicit. So these are basic requirements that not be clearly told by the customer, but customer expects those requirements. Excitement requirement is these features are beyond the expectation of the customer. Sometimes you give an additional feature to your software. For example, your client has told you to develop a website and you give an additional utility feature. So that is an exciting requirement. Okay, these features are beyond the expectation of the customer. The developer is going to add some additional features or unexpected feature into the software which is going to satisfy the customer. For example, your mobile phone with standard feature, but the developer adds few additional features like voice searching, multi-touch screen, then the customer is excited about the features. The next is usage scenario. Till the software team does not understand how the features or functions are used by the end user, it is very difficult to move to the technical activities. So to achieve above problem, the software team is going to produce a set of structure which is going to identify the usage for the software, and this is called as use cases. Use cases means you will understand from the end user's point of view how they're going to use the software and then decide with the technical activities. Then elicitation work product. Here you're going to create a result of requirement that is going to depend on the size of the system and product to be built. The work product is going to consist of statement need, feasibility study, scope. It also consists list of users who participate in the requirement elicitation. Okay, elicitation, as I said before also, you're going to gather the information from anyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have understood this requirement concept.